All right, Mets fans, Dan and I are here. As always, the New York Mets stink it up against the Cardinals, losing 5-4, losing the initial game, getting swept for the fourth time in the last 34 doubleheaders. It's a tough loss, Dan. Today was an overall tough day, not just offensively. The pitching didn't hold up in both games, let's be honest. And defensively, we kind of look a little all over the place. Some players that we expect to come through in the clutch still continue to not come through in the clutch. And it always feels like the ball is finding the wrong player at the wrong time for the New York Mets. I have a couple takeaways from the first game and second game, but I want to get to your thoughts first.
Ray, good to be with you. Yeah, it's always tough when the Mets lose two in one day, right? Let alone one game in one day. But you get swept by this Cardinals team. It's unfortunate, but we didn't play great defense, but the Cardinals did. Victor Scott in center field robbing Juan Soto. You'll see that on highlight reels for a long time. But also Nimmo getting robbed by Jordan Walker in right field. That was 107 off the bat from Nimmo. He's been swinging a hot bat, but the Mets as a whole not playing good baseball today. And started with Tidwell early. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Vientos, everything with the New York Mets. And a good day for Acuna, though, which is good to see.
So what are your initial thoughts on Tidwell? I have a couple thoughts. I want to get to yours first, though.
Yeah. Listen, the stuff is there. The stuff is real. I'm not doubting Tidwell after today. He got roughed up. 6 earned, 9 hits, 3 walks, which basically killed him in the end, which is tough. But it's good stuff, good demeanor. I wish nothing but the best for him. He's going to be around the Mets circles for a long time, but he got sent down after the game today. Dednell Nunez called up. So We'll see, right? But we'll see Tidwell again soon.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you could go and look at a couple instances when he pitched that, especially we spoke about this off the air. That strike 3, 98 miles an hour on the outside corner. Remember, he's not at Citi Field, so he probably had the juices, but not crazy juices flowing. I liked what I seen. You guys saw the lively arm down in spring training when he was with us, and you got a little taste of it today. Yeah, he did get roughed up. He was been getting roughed up in the minor leagues in AAA, but he's still a young guy and a guy that I look forward to having in the future. What's cool about this is you see guys like him, you see guys like Sproat, you see guys like more like McLean who've been dominating down in AA, and you know those reinforcements are right around the corner if the Mets need to grab them. Plus, you have guys like Sean Manaea returning, and obviously we'll see what happens with Frankie Montas. But Dan, let's get to what kind of killed us during both games, in my opinion. And we'll while you're answering this question, I'll try to look up the stats. How many guys are we going to leave on base? And it's not just, oh, well, Acuna, the bottom of the order is not getting it done, and we hope that Jesse Winker's okay being taken out in the first game, but it's the guys at the top of the lineup. Lindor striking out with guys on. Soto's watching back-to-back strike 3 calls with guys on base, not taking the bat off his shoulder. I feel like this team's lacking a little bit of a spark right now. I'm not saying I'm worried, but ever since the sweep of the Phillies, we're well under 500, and this division's getting closer and closer. I believe the Phillies lost today, but us losing 2. Let me look it up really quick.
It's not good.
The NL East standings right now with this loss. We're a 3-game lead. I don't know if that includes this loss. It might be 2.5 right now. If you know, let me know. But I feel like
3 might be
especially defensively, man, it's killing us. And I know a lot of people got on me in regard to my post about Mark Vientos, but how many times are we going to sit here and say, oh, Mark Vientos gave up that run, a bad throw? He's been bailed out 100 times this year by Pete's elite scooping ability, which goes underrated. We all understand that, but Vientos can't make a lot of routine plays to first base. You knew when that slow ground ball was hit to third base, he was not going to make the play, and it was going to take an amazing scoop play by Pete. Unfortunately, Pete couldn't come up with it this time, and that's what ended up costing us the game, because the next batter puts it in the outfield, and they score a run. It's killed us a lot throughout the year, and a lot of Met fans, maybe including myself, don't want to admit it, but he's a liability at third base at this point. Everyone can say, "Oh, he's adequate. He makes the routine play." Go watch how Acuna played third base in game 1 and how Vientos played it in game 2. Acuna gets to that bunt play and almost makes it a play at first base. Vientos isn't fast enough to make that play, first of all, and Acuna just looks way smoother. And obviously, he's more of a middle infielder and a great defender, but I'm starting to get worried with Vientos at third base, because if you're not going to hit and your defense is subpar, there's guys that are knocking on the door. And I'm not saying right now is the time, but we're 35 games in, and this division was just at 6, 7 games. And now we're at what, 3, 2.5? Things are moving quickly. And we have some tough games coming up, Dan, but we'll address that in the next segment. I want to get your thoughts.
Well, I mean, you're right. Vientos has to be better. The whole team has to be better. Alvarez hasn't looked great either, which is unfortunate. I had the single today, which was nice, but as a collective, he hasn't really looked great, and it's discouraging. But the Mets still one of the better teams in baseball. You have to keep reminding people that you shouldn't be losing these series. I agree. The Nationals, and now, the D-backs was a tough series. Now the Cardinals series. I don't really know what it is. I think every team goes through these ups and downs. I think it's natural. But when you start seeing Vientos, and it's been more mental mistakes too than the physical ones, but the physical ones creeping in too. And I really think there needs to be a conversation that has to be had amongst Mets fans, and certainly the Mets themselves, talking about the future of Vientos. I don't think that's an understatement. Sophomore slump's a real thing. We understand.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another layer to this where we thought he was this really, really great player. And maybe we have to understand as Mets fans, maybe he's not as good as we thought, which is fine, but maybe that's the reality.
Yeah, and what's really interesting to me on that play, because it's so funny how baseball works. Vientos doesn't get an error on that play, and they give the batter a hit when clearly a good throw guns him down at the plate. It's just, I don't know. I think like for a while things speed up in his head, and I'm at a point, Dan, and I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for saying it, but I try to call a spade here. If anybody's been around on this channel for a while, I'm not worried about Soto, but he's eventually got to put it together, right? I mean, we're in May now. It's no longer April. And he's consistently coming up with guys on base. And yes, he had the 3-run home run rob. That was good to see that. He almost hit another one out to left field. But I feel like for him, for maybe 2 or 3 weeks now, we're like almost. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's mental with him right now. He's taken strike 3 that splits the plate down the middle. Yeah, it might have been a little low, but it's too close to take a lot of the time. If you look, including myself, I posted it. There were 3 strike 3 calls in game 1 with guys and runners in scoring position that were clear as day balls, and ABS says that they were balls. 2 of them were to Juan Soto. But then you got to look at the other shoe too. They're too close to take. And yes, ABS next year will help you, but right now you don't have that. And too many times you're putting the ball in the umpire's hand to make the correct call, when it feels as though when you're slumping, those calls go against you. And that's where I'm at.
You're right. And the thing about Soto too, he's going to get some of those calls in his favor. And I think over the course of the long season, we started to see that a little bit in the Minnesota series. His eye really showed itself. He was getting some good calls. There's going to be ones that go against him. But like big athletes in other sports, the LeBrons of the world, right? Because that's how you have to think about Soto. He's a top 5 player in the game. So all right, boom. Kevin Durant, same thing. These guys get the fouls called at some point in their career. Once they're an established player, they're going to get some of those. So I think Soto's going to get his worth. The one on Pete, too, in the first game, a lot of people were getting on Pete. That was a really good backdoor slider. I mean, you just got to tip your cap. The Cardinals came to play today. I think we can both say that, Ray. At the end of the day, doubleheader in the books. The Cardinals came to play, and the Mets did not.
What do you attribute do you just give credit? Like, what I would love to, I believe we're 4-6 now in our last 10, which, listen, every team's going to have the ups and downs. We understand that. The reason why I'm saying I'm a little tiny bit worried here is because look at our opponents coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to be going. We have Arizona. They're a very gritty team. We all know that. You have the Cubs, who are in first place in their division. They're playing well. Obviously, you got the Yankees. Will be going to the Bronx
Yeah.
for 3. The Red Sox, who are a solid team of guys like Garrett Crochet there. They're a solid team coming up. We have the Dodgers right after that. And Pittsburgh. I mean, we have some crazy good teams we're going to be playing. So if you want to get that cushion, win today, get that 3.5 game lead. So if you do stumble against one or two of these teams, you have that little bit of cushion. And yes, I know people are going to say, well, Ray, it's still early. It's 35 games in. This division is going to come down to 2 or 3 games, in my opinion. The Braves have slipped a little bit as of late, which is good to see. The Phillies, I believe, lost today. I want to just double check that really quick, but I'm pretty sure they lost today. But we got to be winning these games. You have Tyler McGill, who probably right now has pitched the best on your staff. Today is his real first big boo-boo, which you give him a pass for it. I mean, he's been great all year, but he's going to be pitching in some really good series coming up. I think what we're about to find out, Dan, and this is what, when I go over on X, Braves fans in my DMs, well, you guys haven't played anybody. We played LA. They're about to be done playing LA for the entire year. They played San Diego. They played the LAs. They played a lot of the upper echelon teams in the Major League Baseball. We're about to do that. And we're going to find out what a Griffin Canning is made of, what a David Peterson is made of. I think we're going to find out a lot about that. No longer is Canning going to be pitching against the Washington Nationals. Once you get past their first 3, you're facing a bunch of quadruple A guys. And same thing with the Marlins. We played the Marlins a ton. So I think we're about to find out a ton about the actual pitchers that we brought in. And maybe some of the pitchers were saying, you know what? They're pitching really well for us. Might not be that way in a week or so.
These are big games for the Mets, Ray. Big, big games. Subway Series is the one I think a lot of us have circled, but those Dodger games are going to tell you a lot. Those Red Sox games, 100%. And we learned a lot from the Cardinals series. The Mets seem to play down to their competition at points, which is a little frustrating. I hope that doesn't continue. But McGill, too, today, you mentioned him, and he ran into some trouble. He still can't get over the hurdle. He's sitting there in the 4th inning with 40 pitches. He has runners on the corners, and he still seems to have that inability, again, to get over the hump. And I don't know why. And he's shown the stuff. Most starts this year, he's shown the stuff, but it's still the inconsistency. He's talked about it himself. He says he has a couple good starts, and then boom, he has one like this. So hopefully in the future you can not have starts like this moving forward, because he's just too good. He really, really is.
And Dan, I want to go over our live OPSs, because I think some of them might be a little surprising to you. Obviously, we know Lindor. Soto today, even though he was 1 for 5, he had a solid game 1. His OPS is now over 800. He's at all-star level. So that's why I wanted to say I'm not totally worried about Juan Soto right now. Would I like to see the 850, 900 OPS? Yeah, and I think that's going to be coming. You have Alonso with 1124. But after your front 3, and this is what's been so disappointing with this team, and you're like, if one more guy could really boost it up there, it could change this. Mark Vientos' OPS right now is 682. Brandon Nimmo, 698. Starling Marte, who was the starting right fielder, 632. Azokar, 588. Alvarez, who, he's played in 3 games. He's got an 804 OPS. Acuna, 724, which is solid for a bottom of the order guy who's going to steal bases. And Tyron Taylor, 648. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of your 9 guys have an OPS in the 600s or lower. So more than half of your lineup is playing well below league average, when you consider OPS league average is usually anywhere between 730 and 740. And these guys are in the mid 6s. It's got to change. It can't be everybody. It's one thing to say Brandon Nimmo's off to a slow start, but not when you're sitting there saying, well, it's Mark Vientos, it's Brandon Nimmo, it's Jesse Winker, it's Starling Marte, it's Azokar, it's Tyron Taylor. Tyron Taylor is a hell of a defender. No one could take that away from you. And you could have a player like that in your lineup when other players are consistently hitting. And I'm going to try to find it really quick. What is the New York Mets current runners in scoring position average? I'm going to take a peek at that while you're talking, which I probably bet you it's pretty high because what they did in Washington, obviously a few days ago, but as
Yeah.
of lately, it's, this past series at least, it's something to be a little concerned about. The Cardinals are not throwing anybody crazy at you. We all know who they are. We're not facing a Paul Skeens, uh, whatever, a Garrett Cole, whoever the hell they thrown out there. They all have 4.5, 5 ERAs outside of Hisley, their closer. So, I mean, give me your opinions on it. Maybe I'm overreacting. Well, you let me know.
I think you're
And then we get to some people's comments.
you're pretty on point here, Ray. I think there's a lot of junk that we were throwing past couple series. Sonny Gray, I always look at him as the prototypical overrated, but you do have to tip your cap. He's pitched a long time. He's had a good ERA. He's done a lot of the right things. But at this point in his career, the Mets, given where they're at, they should be beating up on a guy like that. And even today, Palante, not going to overpower anybody, but he even got roughed up to a point, but he was still able to overcome the hurdles that we were looking for Tyler McGill to overcome, and he just couldn't in the end. So I'm still looking positively on the Mets moving forward. I think you are too on guys like Soto.
Yeah.
But even with the Tyrone Taylors of the world, I was totally wrong about him. I was writing him off like the next guy, and I think he adds so much more value to this team than a guy like a Zokar or something like that. We saw him play a little bit today, but also Marte, really happy to have Marte here. He had a single today. He did a lot of things. He played right field first time all year. He's done that.
Yep.
So there's some positives. There's obviously some negatives, but again, you look up at the scoreboard, the Mets are still first place.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it should be a lot bigger considering what we did to Philly. You know what I mean? We saw the Philly fans melting down. The division's over. These, people on WFAN screaming that, which I guess that's part of their job. But I'm trying to find, maybe somebody in the chat could give it to us. I want to know today and yesterday, what was the Mets runners in scoring position average?
They left 10 on base.
I know. I'm telling you, that's what I wanted to bring up. So I'm trying to, can't find it right now, but I want to get to some of the people in the chat. I see you guys in there. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank
and
you.
As always, if you're enjoying this content, just give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. We got this from Robert Nolan. Mets smoked the ball in game 2. Cards got lucky AF. I agree with that. I saw, you know what? I'm going to pull it up for you, Dan. I had a really, I think I posted it on Facebook, not on X. I'm going to find it for you guys. I saw a crazy thing today, and it was from game 2. Let me pull it up really quick. In regard to exit velocities, if you saw these velocities, let me pull it up really quick. Here we go.
Exit velocity, such a new age thing, because you asked some people, I forget who it was, Terry Francona, they asked about exit velocity. He's like, I don't care, it was an out.
Well,
yeah,
you should care. I mean, it does, it does mean a lot because hold on, it's who's hitting the ball hard. I mean,
right.
that's a part of baseball, isn't it?
Well, of course, Nimmo smoking a ball 107 and Jordan Walker makes a nice play. It's like, all right, what are you gonna do?
Right. Let's see. I can't, I'm gonna look at it on my phone. I'll just tell you guys. It was absolutely berserk, the stat that I seen. And I was like, all right, that makes a lot of sense when you're looking into it. Hold on. And I had
yeah, right.
All right, here it is.
Okay.
So today, game 2, 114, 113, 112, 108, 108, 107, 105, 102, 101. Those are all Mets hits that were outs. You know how crazy that is.
Hitting the ball hard.
Pete Alonso, 114-4. Oh, that was a single, excuse me. Pete Alonso grounded to double play, 112-7. Lindor, 108.1, ground out. Nimmo, 107, line out. Soto, 105.9, fly out. That was a robbed home run. 102, fly out to left field, Soto. And then line out, 101.6 for Francisco Lindor. So they have plenty of balls with lineouts. I want to we have Mendy speaking. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, this is brought to you guys by SNY. Let me know if you can hear it good.
Is that overall how you look at a day and specifically a game?
Can you hear it good, Dan?
Where you hit a ton of balls hard and just didn't get the big ones when it mattered.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's baseball, I guess. It didn't go our way. You see Soto's ball. I mean, I think he fueled a few of them today. Nemo, same way with the bases loaded, they made a really good play. We had chances, and he balls hard. Just it didn't go our way today.
Maybe you want Winker.
No. He's gonna go back to New York.
Oh boy.
Get more pictures on it. They weren't clear here, but it looks like an IL situation.
Oh, great.
So yeah, I'm gonna talk to David here, and
Maybe Drew Gilbert. Just saying. Don't shoot the messenger.
assuming we'll have someone there.
What's going on with Brett Beatty at Syracuse right here?
Yeah, he was dealing with a sore big right toe.
Big right toe.
Going through his workout yesterday, today. So we'll see. We'll have to check on that.
That was right. So,
Yeah. I mean, obviously he was going through workouts and all that. So we'll see what we got.
what'd you make of McGill's night?
Okay. I thought a couple of the walks kind of hurting him a little bit. We didn't make a play. They ran his pitch count up. That 30.
Yeah, Vientos didn't make a play. That's the play.
He ended up throwing almost 40 pitches there, and then before you know it, he's 5 inning, 90 pitches. Tony battle. But again, a lot of pitches in 5 innings there.
It's kind of a weird series. I mean, you guys got a lot of hits this series, and you come away with 2 losses.
I know that's how baseball goes sometimes. Like I say, it could be a little frustrating, but there's nothing you could do about it. You got to keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is controlling the strike zone, hitting balls hard. Yes, we want to win series, we want to win games, but we got to turn the page and get ready for a series in Arizona now.
All right, so we heard.
That's what we got from Carlos Mendoza. I mean, think about it. Now you got to go fly out to Arizona. They play tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no day off.
Mm-mm.
What do you take away from that? I mean, the news on Jesse Winker. I know I made a little Drew Gilbert comment there, which I actually think maybe that actually could happen. Maybe not. Maybe they just say, hey, we have a Zokar here. He'll be playing. Winker was more of a backup anyways. Marte's now playing the field. So maybe they go for more infield depth. Could they bring up a Brett Beatty back up, play a little third base, maybe DH Vientos a couple days? I mean, because we spoke about that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got a hit with a lot of that. The thing that we posted, go check out Metcast on Instagram, but we posted a reel there talking about, Acuna and Vientos and Mauricio and what happens, and Gilbert too in the mix, because there are a lot of prospects that are coming up, and Gilbert is probably number one right now that you can look at and say his time has come. He's hitting well down in Syracuse as well. He had that injury last year, but he seems to have gotten past it. So I do think now with Winker hitting the IL, he strained his oblique in the 3rd inning of today's game on a throw. He left the game with right side discomfort, and it was Acuna who started at third base. Vientos ends up coming in. They move McNeil to left, Zokar to center. It was weird. Nobody knew what happened to Winker. I was like,
right,
it's just a defensive replacement. And then Gary obviously says he was out, right side discomfort, which we now know is an oblique. So I don't know how long that's.
We all know about obliques, man.
Hopefully 15 days, Ray, and he's back on the field. But then probably Gilbert's the call up at this point, unless there's another outfielder I'm not thinking of, like a.
Could be, unless they're planning on just saying, "Oh, we're gonna bring." Well, Beatty's out of options, so if you bring him back up, you cannot send him back down unless you trade him or DFA him. And to the Mets, he clearly has too much value. I would be a little surprised to see Beatty back up in the majors. I think he's going to be a trade piece unless a guy like Vientos or Pete or Acuna, McNeil, somebody goes down for an extended period of time and ends up on the 60-day IL. That's the only way I see Beatty making it back to the big league team.
Think about it too. Like, do you trust? And this is a question for anyone listening. Please comment. Do you trust? Because they saw going into the second game, they didn't have Winker. They looked at their options available. Boom. Marte is playing field for the first time all year. So do you look at Starling Marte as a potential option that can avoid any other outfielders being called up? You can leave Beatty down for a little bit longer. Maybe we just rely on Marte for the game.
Are you nervous a little, though? Like, there's a reason why they didn't want to play Marte in the field. Obviously, his knee was bothering him. They spoke about it. They were getting it ready for the season. But I think they're going to be very limited how often they put Marte in the field because he's very injury prone at this point in his career. Just is what it is. So keeping him playing, they might value it. Look, he's stealing some bases. He's moving well on the base paths. You want to put that strain on him, potentially diving and sliding and crashing into walls and, doing those instant knee-jerk reactions you need to make in right field to make some spectacular plays. Maybe that's going to be a limited thing.
I think it's good for once a week, twice a week. I agree. I don't want Marte playing every single day anymore. Those days have passed. But if you can get a twice a week start out of Marte, I think that could be good because you could have enough coverage in the outfield with Nimmo, Soto. You still have Taylor, Azokar still here for the time being too. You have McNeil who can play the outfield, Acuna who we're told who can play the outfield. So I'm still waiting to see that. But overall, I think they have enough coverage in the outfield. That's the beauty. We were always saying, why is Beatty called down? They have so many outfielders. It's like, can't they call one of those guys down?
Right.
So who knows what's going to end up happening.
So we have this from a YouTube user who doesn't want to use their name. Vientos is really starting to let the team down this season. His swings Friday were horrendous. Angelo says, can Soto wake up and start to hit? It's not that he's still getting on base. It's just, and he's got a lot of hard contact. If you go watch, we were just talking about it, the exit velocities, Dan, he's hit the ball over 100 miles an hour so frequently as a New York Met. They're just not falling in. And unfortunately, when you're cold, that stuff happens. And then when you're hot, you get a 20-mile-an-hour dribbler in front of the plate that squibs into being a hit,
Right. And the sophomore slump's a real thing. Like, it's not something that we made up here on Metcast to get under your skin as a Vientos fan. We're looking at him and saying, the scouting report, there's a book on you now. You're in the big leagues. You're not just going to post your way to 35, 40 home runs as much as we may thought he could.
Right.
I still think there's time. Like any of these guys, right? It's May. And May the 4th be with you, by the way, too. Star Wars.
Who you put out there for him, Mo? I'm assuming you're saying in regard to Vientos. I guess it depends what you're trying to do. Are you trying to add a little more speed? Maybe you put Acuna at third, who looked pretty damn fluid out there. You could leave McNeil at second, but this Jesse Winker injury might change a lot for the New York Mets because he was their primarily left-handed DH / corner outfielder, depending on, and we all know obliques could be a week or two, or they could be 3 months. I mean, it's one of those injuries that depends on the severity, right?
Definitely. And that's why the beauty of a Brett Beatty, it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but the ability to not have McNeil at second base is so critical. The Mets seem to like playing him at second base, but I think we all like Acuna playing there. McNeil's a better outfielder at this point in his career. It makes a lot of sense. And then Beatty can play his third base. Vientos can be a DH and work out his problem. But Winker, it's not a significant injury. It's going to give other players opportunity.
Vincent's got a great point here. I'm more concerned with the starting pitching not going deep enough into games and the bullpen being overused in general. And I already feel it's that way. I mean, Dan, it feels like we're seeing Max Kranick, who's becoming more high leverage situation for the New York Mets. I feel like we're seeing him every night. And then, of course, the days that, in my opinion, in Washington, we should have used Edwin Diaz and we don't. And now today, we're forced to bring him into a non-save situation. And if you're not just a fly on the wall and you watch the Mets every day like you, Dan, and myself do, you know he's not good in non-save situations and almost blew it again today. You can't bring Diaz. And I understand, oh, well, he needs work. Well, now he got work. He got hit around a little bit. And now you might need him tomorrow night in a great series against, Arizona. And luckily we beat Arizona as of late, but now we're going into their house and the time zone's different. Maybe, just maybe though, Dan, and I know Keith has made this point in the past, maybe going on a long road trip like they are to Arizona, it helps the team bond. It allows them to go over things and straighten things out. Sometimes the best thing for a team is to get away from home. I know they're not home right now and they've had a great home record, but staying out in Arizona, I'm hoping maybe they can figure some of these things out.
Yeah, and you're not getting the length out of your starters, which is concerning. Like, we're told that Senga's an ace, which we believe, and then he needs 6 days rest to be effective, which is fine. But then he gives you 4 2/3 innings, whatever he gave you the other night. It's like, what's not adding up here? So I think it's still early enough in the season when we can't really be too concerned with the usage of the starting pitchers of the bullpen. Just let them figure out who the right pieces are. That's the real part of this. That,
Right.
you know.
Well, it's funny because they remember that during the game they put up that graphic, best ERAs in baseball. You see Tyler McGill up there and Senga. I'm like, Senga doesn't pitch. He pitches 5 innings or 4 innings. You could have the greatest ERA ever. If you're gonna tax the hell out of your bullpen, what good is it really? And obviously, you guys don't know how I feel about Senga. I love him, but he needs that extra day off. Fine, we'll get you that extra day off. We'll bring guys up from AA, from AAA who are not major leaguers to come and start to get you that extra day off. Then you have to push yourself. If you're going to give him the 5 days off, Dan, he should be going 100, 110 pitches. It shouldn't be 70 pitches and he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a major league pitcher. You're going to tax the hell out of your bullpen. Eventually, Senga's got to get pushed. So you have Klub saying tough series against the D-backs and Cubs coming up. Not feeling confident here. I don't want to say I'm not confident. We're still in first place. There are criticisms to be had, but the one good thing, Dan, that I take away from this, we've seen Nimmo do it. We've seen Vientos do it. We've seen Soto do it. We've seen Lindor do it. And eventually guys end up the back of their baseball cards. Lindor's had a great season. Alonso's had a great season. I'm expecting very shortly Juan Soto to get red hot. I mean, let's be honest. If he hits that home run today, he's been pretty damn good over these last 10 games. His OPS would probably be, instead of 806, it'd probably be in the 820s or 815-ish range as it continues to climb. So we're starting to see Soto come out. I know we've been saying that for weeks, but you're seeing the better swings. He could have had 2 home runs today. The second ball would have been a home run in a couple parks. The first ball would have been a home run in a few parks as well, but they just weren't in Arizona. And let's remember, as the weather gets a little warmer, those 2 balls he hits today, they're home runs because they carry further in the warmer weather.
Yeah. Soto's known to hit better in the warmer weather. He's done it his whole life. That goes back to his teenage days. Like, I'm confident this team is going to be good. This team is a 90-plus win team. We have not deviated from that. And I said in one of the spaces, I don't even know, but right, if this team ever goes below 500 again this year, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be on major losing streaks.
Yes. So don't worry. Until that happens, then you can worry.
I just lost.
I don't want to tell people how to worry, right? But, like, we're good. We're good.
I agree as of right now. Soto, to me, seems, and this is from Angelo, seems to me like he's looking for a walk instead of swinging the bat. I get that perspective. I sometimes feel the same way, but Soto has such an elite eye at the plate. Like, those 2 strikeouts in big positions were not strikeouts. But then again, you have to protect the plate at some instance. Foul off a couple hard pitches, which we've seen him do. You remember a couple of years ago, Brandon Nimmo seemed to be 0-2 every at bat, and then you look up and it'd be 3-2. Soto's been like that his whole career. That's who he is. He chooses where he wants to hit the ball early in the at-bats, and then you watch him choke up 2 inches on his bat with 2 strikes. And that's the kind of hitter he is. He could say, all right, here I'm going to look for the outside corner. So he might take a ball right down the middle because he's looking out there, because he gives himself 2 strikes before he gets into defense mode. And that's just the kind of hitter that he is.
He's better under pressure. And that was the big quote from this week that everyone went crazy with when Soto's sitting there. What pressure? I don't feel pressure. And you could take that one of 2 ways. And I think the not smart Mets fan looks at Soto saying, oh, he's not really aware of how bad he's doing. And what do you mean you don't feel pressure? You're in New York. The smart Mets fan sees the kind of player that he is. And I think we've seen that over the past month. He's a cold-blooded killer. He literally feels no pressure in that box. So that's why you give him that kind of paycheck, right?
Yeah, let's just hope if he starts hitting home runs a little more often, Met fans will get off his back. Also, they're all worried. You want this to work out so badly because, let's be honest, you're scared if it doesn't work out, Steve Cohen's never going to spend again. Gabriel says, let's effing go Mets no matter what. Absolutely. Dan, for you from Sands. No, you are right. Bullpen scrubs pitch like Cy Young when facing the New York Mets. Blows my mind. That guy went 4 scoreless. I was thinking the same exact thing when I was like, 4 scoreless. He went through the top of the order twice.
Yeah, it's not good. Again, when you see a guy who you know that the Mets should be beating up on and a bullpen starter, there's been multiple times, and I just think they play down to the competition at times. Not to say that's a bad thing.
Yep, that's what I said.
You can get past that. Like, that's the Knicks were playing down to their competition most nights, and they're going to hopefully have a good series against the Celtics. We'll see. Play up to their
Boy, let's go Boston. We got this from Robert Nolan. If this is true, I presume it is. Why would you lie? Mets were 6 for 26 in the doubleheader today with runners in scoring position. I just put it in my handy dandy calculator. That is a 230 average. Yikes. It felt like every inning we had something cooking and just could never cash.
Yeah, it did.
I think I was on. I've seen people DM me this. Fire Eric Chavez and hire JD Martinez as the new hitting coach. Typically, players that have millions and millions of dollars in the bank, Dan, they don't always become managers and hitting coaches. Very rare guys like Craig Counsell. I mean, think about it. Mendoza never played in the major leagues. All these guys, because once you have all those millions, you don't want to be hired to be fired. And, that's why you see a lot of managers that never made it to the majors. Or if they were like utility guys.
Rather play pickleball.
Soto's hitting 286 over the last week with a 946 OPS from Robert. Robert, I appreciate you sharing those stats with us, man. I've been looking for it. Steve says Nimmo is killing us. He is. Just those are the facts. I mean, he had the great game, but
it's a great game.
He starts to come around.
That's not just a great game. Yeah, that's more than a.
Well, I'm talking about the 9 RBI game.
Yeah, bro, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's good. He's had a couple hits these past couple games. Has he been perfect? No. Has he come up in big spots? No. But he's the last person we should, an established veteran in the big leagues.
So Vincent says, and I'm not totally sure about this. Yeah, Ray, why has nobody questioned or looked deeper into why Diaz went 9 days without pitching?
I mean, that whole hip thing where the leg was longer than the other, and then
everyone passed it off like it was a fake injury, Dan. Maybe it wasn't.
Well, I think in the moment it was, because he had to get out of the balk some way or the other. But then you go into it deeper and he's not back on the mound. Then they attribute it to usage, which I thought was weird. And then now we are where we are, where he came into the 8th inning today and they just had to use Diaz because their bullpen was so depleted from Tidwell going 4 innings this morning. But
would you have switched them? I feel like I would have switched them. I would like to have said McGill is going to go first because odds of pitching deeper and preserving the bullpen would be higher rather than having Tidwell, who you knew was not going to go 5 innings in his first MLB debut.
Well, yeah. Ideally, you'd want him. Yeah.
Right. Jose makes a good point here. Let's face the fact. The Nets, not the Brooklyn Nets. I'm pretty sure he meant Mets, but don't have any elite starters. And that does go well for the Nets as well. Like Logan Webb or Garrett Crochet. So the bleeding. Therefore, they have an overworked pen, which does make sense because let's be honest. Who's the real Senga's supposed to be a workhorse. He's just not. But we could also say this too, Dan. Our workhorse, who was our workhorse last year, Sean Manaea, has been out. So like there's one of your workhorses. So you're forced to pitch these guys who might not be major league ready. But I'm also glad Tidwell's getting his feet dipped in the water here. Get him a little bit of that experience because we've all seen it every single year. We need 8 or 9 pitchers to get through the season. This year's going to be no different. We've been lucky, but we went into the season down 2 starters and Manaea. We're lucky Canning's still healthy. McGill's still healthy. Senga, who's always hurt, is healthy, but he's not pitching all the way through these games. You're going to use that depth. So getting his, allowing him to dip his foot in the pool get a little of experience. When he comes back up, hopefully he'll be better prepared.
Yeah, Tidwell. I think I would have switched them. I think that's a good. I just it's so unfortunate Tidwell's outing today because he has big league stuff, and whether he went first, whether he went second, I just think at the end of the day he still needs a little bit more time, which I didn't think. I thought he would have been ready to go, but I think we look at him more. At least I do. I don't. I want to get your opinion, Ray. In like the Kranick role, see him out of the pen. I think in the future that would be a great spot for Tidwell to live, and then he could be a starter later in his career. I'm not ruling that out, but the stuff is so good, and he just got a short end of the stick today and a couple rough innings. But yeah, I think that could be something to consider.
You know what? What's interesting, you said, I remember I had Nelson Figueroa on earlier in the year. I'm not sure if you were on that episode. It was early in the offseason. I asked him about Blade Tidwell, and he said a lot of people around major leagues thought he was going to be a bullpen guy, just like Brandon Sproat. But then they tried them as starters, and it kind of worked out. But even I believe he predicts that Tidwell eventually will end up in the pen. We'll see. They're trying. You saw him sitting at 95, 96. He dialed it up to 98 a couple of times. You don't just want to throw that kind of arm at 23 years old into the bullpen, in my opinion. Like that happened to Edwin Diaz when he was young, but he was a failed starter, all the way around. Buzz says, "What's up, guys? What's up, fellas? Rough day. Am I the only one who's getting irritated by McGreevy's deep breaths?" Oh, I see. Oh, I know who you're saying. And his facial expressions. Yeah. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it, Dan?
McGreevy. I'm okay with Jeff McNeil on this team for the time being. I still think we can finish out 2025 with Jeff McNeil on this team. I just don't know what the future holds because there is value to him. We were talking about this in the offseason. Yep. The fact that I could put this guy in left field, I could put him in center field, third base, even if we needed to, shortstop, second base. McNeil's a very versatile player. And looking at a guy like Marte, who we wished could be a versatile player in the outfield at this point in his career, I think McNeil, even at 36, he's 33 now, he could be playing all around. Like, there's going to be value to him whether he finishes out his contract with the Mets or not. But for 2025, like, if you guys are clamoring for McNeil to be traded, I don't know. I don't want to say that that's not going to happen anymore, but I think it's less likelier than we thought.
Yeah, as of right now, especially, if Jesse Winker is down, he's going to be playing a bigger role on the staff. That's just how it's going to be. And the Mets are going to go veteran led. They're trying to win a World Series right now. It may seem like it's far fetched, but you have a trade deadline. You have prospects that are going to be coming up. And that's how I look at that.
Yep.
All right, Dan, any last words before we head off?
Guys, it's great live as always. Ray, love to do this with you.
Yeah, we'll about 700 people in here. Appreciate you guys coming in.
Yeah, we got a D-back series coming up. Excited for that.
Before we start,
let's keep it going, right? Just tough 2 losses today for the Mets, but you got to just keep trusting in that it's a long season. The Mets are a really good team, and we'll figure it out.
That's right. All right, guys. We'll see you shortly. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing a post game tomorrow. It's going to be very late. Maybe we'll do some type of pregame.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Maybe we'll do something like that. I'm sure Dan's going to be hosting a space right after this tonight. I got to get to bed. So if you want to give Dan a follow over at Dan Bartels on X and everywhere else, we're on every platform as well, putting out as much content as possible. All right. Thanks, everybody. As always, Dan, ready? Let's
go. Mets, baby. Come on.